All right, today we are diving into something we all deal with, whether we realize it or not. Think of this as your personal field guide to manipulation, how to spot it, and more importantly, how to take back control.
You know that feeling, right? That little knot in your stomach when you're being pushed into saying yes to something you really want to say no to. It could be small, like your partner convincing you to do a chore right now. Or maybe it's bigger, like a friend making their fun plans sound like it's your only option. Well, that feeling, it has a name.
And look, this isn't just something you see in the movies. It happens every day, in our offices, with our friends, even in our own homes. It's that subtle attempt to get what someone wants, not by asking directly, but by pulling these little strings we don't even see.
Now, let me be clear. The point of this is not to make you paranoid about every conversation. Nope. The goal is to make you aware. So consider this your personal guide to spotting the signs. Because once you can see the tactics in play, that's when you get to be in charge of your own decisions again.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly are we looking for? What are these invisible strings that are trying to influence our choices? So here's the key part of that definition, without their full awareness. See, unlike a direct, honest request, manipulation works in the shadows. It's designed to sidestep your rational brain and go straight for your emotions, your guilt, or maybe even your insecurities. Okay, now that we've got a solid definition, let's get into the specifics. It's time to open up the manipulator's playbook and look at the 11 key tactics they use. First up, we've got what you could call the soft tactics. You've got charm, that's the classic flattery that just makes you want to agree with someone. Then there's pleasure induction, when a friend says, oh, come on, it'll be fun to get you out of the house. And of course, social comparison, which totally preys on our need to fit in. Think about when someone says, well, everyone else at work is staying late. All right, next up, things get a bit heavier. We're talking about pressure and guilt. The silent treatment is a big one. That long, drawn-out quiet is literally designed to make you so anxious that you just give in. Then you have self-abasement, where someone might say something like, I guess I'm just terrible at this, hoping you'll feel sorry for them and just do it yourself. And finally, responsibility invocation. That's the trap of the past commitment. You know the line, but you promised.
So from pressure and guilt, we're now moving into the more aggressive stuff. In this first one, well, it might sound surprisingly childish.
Yep, it's called regression. And it works because it's almost impossible to have a rational conversation with an adult who's suddenly acting like a toddler. It is designed to just wear you down until you give in, just so the whining or pouting will finally stop.
This slide shows a really clear escalation. Coercion is all about the threat of harm. Think of someone saying, if you leave, I'll tell everyone your secret. Hardball, on the other hand, is when that threat turns into action. It's a really dangerous and direct form of manipulation.
And finally, we've got tactics that kind of appeal to our rational side, or at least they pretend to. The tactic of reason can be used unethically, right? Someone presents an argument that's technically logical but feels morally wrong, and it makes it super hard to argue against. And of course, there's always monetary reward, just offering cash to get someone to do something they probably wouldn't do otherwise.
So that's the playbook. But what about the players? What kind of person is most likely to use these tactics? Let's take a look at the psychology behind it.
Okay, first things first, let's just bust a huge stereotype right now. The idea that one gender is somehow more manipulative than the other, it's just plain false. The research is very clear on this. Men and women use these tactics in pretty much equal measure.
So if it's not about gender, what is it about? Well, research points to something much deeper, our core personality traits. And these are often understood through a framework known as the Big Five.
Now this table gives us a way better picture than any stereotype ever could. If you look at the top, you see that highly extroverted people are more likely to use social pressure tactics like coercion. Meanwhile, highly agreeable people tend to lean on those softer tactics like reason. But honestly, the most telling insight might be down at the bottom. Low conscientiousness is linked to the most severe tactics like coercion and even criminal monetary rewards.
Okay, so we've seen the plays and we've profiled the players. So what do you do with all this? How do you actually defend yourself?
And this, right here, is the single most important thing to remember. The goal isn't to live in paranoia, it's to live with power. Your best defense, your shield, is simply awareness.
So, it really boils down to this simple two-step process. First, you learn to spot the tactic. Just being able to name what's happening in your own head. Oh, that's responsibility invocation. Or, hey, that's the silent treatment. That changes everything, because it leads you right to step two. Once you see the tactic for what it is, you gain control.
that invisible string suddenly becomes visible, and its power over you, it just vanishes.
And that's the question I want to leave you with. As you go about your week, just keep this field guide in the back of your mind. Because the more you know about this stuff, the easier it's going to be to see these tactics at work, and the more control you'll have over every decision you make.